Hello and welcome to a video with me, Manhattan. I've kind of got over last time when I was a bit over enthusiastic and a bit insane, to be quite frank with you. But yeah, this time we're going to be looking at WorldPainter, a utility for Minecraft. Quite a few people do consider it cheating, but in my opinion it's great if you're going to do a creative world and you want to know how your world's going to turn out before you start and you want to create it. So without further ado, let's get to creating a new world and look at that screen. So firstly, we want to give our world a name. Let's give it Manhattan World. For dimensions, now the thing is, outside of the dimensions, it'll generate, well, I think it generates just ocean. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it is ocean. In fact, I think you can change it later on when you export. But I find a good size is 1024 by 1024, which is, it's a bit bigger than, if you've played Xbox Minecraft, it's about the same size as one of those worlds, but slightly larger. For the topography, I usually go flat. Now, you'll notice that there's a couple of buttons there which I haven't toggled, and they are circular world, which I usually don't bother with. And height. Height is, it depends on your version, and also a lot of the heights need mods. But 256 is the only one you can do for Minecraft 1.2 and later. If you're running 1.1, you can do 128, and with mods you can do all of the others. But anyway, I usually do flat, and then what I usually like to do is I usually like to put this down to usually about 60 or 59, because what that means is that you're going to have a nice ocean boundary around your world. Usually to start with, I toggle beaches off, because if beaches are on, when you start pulling land out of the ground, it kind of looks horrible and you have to change it straight away. Surface materials, glass, it's fine unless you're making some kind of special world. Biomes are usually, I'm not 100% sure as to what custom does. I think it lets you choose the biomes, but I usually just, it's quite smart when it comes to actually detecting biomes. So if you put like sand down, it'll say that's a desert. If you put say pine trees down, it'll make it a forest, and if there's frost as well, bam, you've got yourself a tiger. Now for Minecraft seed, I think that starts as to what biomes you start with. I always go ocean. If you're starting with land though, you might want to choose land there. So if we click create, it creates our world, and to view the whole thing we'll probably need to zoom out. And bam! Yeah, there's our world. So let's look at all of the different tools then. We've got raised rotated pyramid, which, along with raised pyramid, I don't really see the point of. It basically raises a gigantic pyramid out of the earth, made of sandstone. So if that's your thing, then go for it, but I don't really think there's all that much point to this tool. You can also raise a normal pyramid where the edges will be north, south, west, east. I mean, it's just a personal choice for that one, really. Ones which I find more useful, well, the first one you're going to want to do, especially if you're doing this map, is height. We want to raise ourselves a nice area. Now you'll notice that I am using, if you look at the brushes, I think I am using the sine circle. Yes, the sine circle. And which gives you nice, kind of, bit like a sine wave, it's nice kind of, relatively flat, but nice smooth hills, those kind of things, and smooth edges generally. Anyway, before we start, we want to flatten this out, because whenever you're making land, it's always good to have a flat area to work with, and then you can add your mountains in later. So I'm just flattening this out now. And then I'm going to extend it out using the flatten tool. Ooh, that was slight misclick. I want to extend it right out, all the way down, all the way around. We do want a nice border of water, but it's obviously good to have a fairly large area of land, seeing as the majority of the player's time in Minecraft is on land, and this is for Minecraft. This is a great utility, and I find that you use it a lot if you're using Minecraft, and if you're playing creative a lot. Now, as you'll see, we've kind of gone to the edge here, so we want to pull it back. So we want to, using a nice small brush, just brush your way downwards, and maybe like smooth off the edge, probably best. Yeah. I mean, it's good to be quite precise in this because it does pay off. Now, here we're gonna like roughen out the coast. We're using a new brush, but I'll get onto some more of these brushes later, but noise is probably one of the ones that you'll use the most, because noise basically kind of randomly flattens it. It's really cool, and it gives you nice bumpy coasts, which if you're going for quite a realistic looking thing, you need bumpy coasts. Now, and there we go. Bump this out a bit. Right, there we go. Now, we've got this nice world, and it's lovely. Now, what you do from here is entirely up to you, but one of the first things you'll want to add is something for the player to do. A flat plane's kind of boring. So, firstly, what I like to do is I like to add in the hills. So, we're going to have a mountain range on the west coast. Sort of like the Andes in South America. And you're going to be using rays a lot. It's very, very good for mountains, especially, I usually find. And the mountains are going to have like a little foothills region just to the east. And they're going to slope down a bit nicer. Now, you'll notice that with the noise tool, it really looks quite realistic, really. But the east's still a bit featureless. So we're going to add a little hilly area here. And then we're going to have a river going into it. Now, to get a good river, I like to use the flatten tool. And then you just drag it in, making it ever so shorter as you go in. You can make a radius smaller by using the mouse wheel. And then just nicely. So that's a little river there. And as you can see, it gets slightly, less wide as it goes into the hill. Now, this central region I'm not too happy with, but we're probably going to put like a jungle or something there. So we're going to look at the layers and also the brush settings, because both of these are very, very useful. First one is frost. Suppose we want, now, at or above, these options basically mean that it'll only generate something above a certain height, so we might only want frost above 75, which is quite high up. So with this, we could just paint the frost on. You will get quite a hard border, but if you've noised it out enough, then there shouldn't really be any problems with that, because the border will be natural looking anyway. Also, we might want to add a pine forest between, say, 70 1 and 78 maybe, because on real mountains you do get pine forests growing quite high up. So you just paint on. And like all of them, you can combine multiple ones together, so you might have a pine forest. If it was in snow, it would become obviously a taiga biome. Now, this combination could be really useful for a map kind of like Skyrim, where it is just lots of frost, lots of pine trees, nice like that. Now, I'm really not satisfied with the inside of the island, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the flattened brush out, and I'm going to use a slightly higher brush, and I'm going to paint it all the way around, so like we've got basically a coastline, but it does increase in height, just so it's not flat and boring, because that's obviously a danger. Now you'll notice slight little knocks where the height changes. This is normal. You'll also get contours. I think by default, you can change the contours if we go in preferences. I think, yeah, contour lines enabled, and you can turn it up or down. I like to have it 10, obviously, because the good thing about that is that basically what it means is you get contours every 10 height, which is quite a lot. It's basically the difference between kind of an ocean floor, maybe, and land. So it's worth having, I'd say. Now if we go up here, now WorldPainter, it can be quite slow sometimes, but you have to remember it's a really good program. It's very, very useful for your Minecraft maps. I would definitely recommend it. There'll be a link to the WorldPainter site down in the description, so if you want to check it out, then feel free. If you've already got it, but you're not really sure how to use it, well, this is for you, really. So the next one we're going to look at is caverns and chasms. Now, by default, if you set them on, caverns will generate everywhere. But this can be used to generate caverns in particular areas. So suppose you want like a cavern here in the central region. Well, maybe not that brush. We would probably want to use maybe sign, yeah, and then we'd want to extend it up. So there we go, we've got a nice little cavern. We could also have a chasm running through beneath the mountains, which would, and chasms, if you've ever seen a massive ravine underground in Minecraft, and I know you have, that's what that generates. Deciduous trees we're gonna have in this southern area, but always below 71 we'll have them, so that they're not on the slopes. There. And that'll also be quite nice because you'll be able to see like deciduous forests extending into suddenly then we'll start getting pine forests. Now, you might be a bit worried here, because there's obviously forests in the ocean. They won't generate. The only time they'll generate is if you use a swamp, and even so, that can be beneficial. Oh, it seems that one of my tools has kind of ruined the river, so if you'll excuse me, I'll just put that in quickly, because I'm going to be using that to show off the next one. Pine we've looked at, but swamp, I would always set swamp to only occur below maybe at or below probably 62, or whatever your sea level you've chosen is. And basically that generates a swamp. It's really good for rivers if you want a little swamp along your river. So that entire area is going to be swampy. Now, you might be wondering what the next one is. Jungle. Well, you probably aren't, because it's very obvious. It generates a little jungle. So we're just going to generate the jungle in kind of like a T shape. T for team overload it. Void. Void basically means there's just going to be a massive hole in the world. There's no real reason to show that off, is there? You use it if you need to, but I'm not sure I would. Now, resources. You don't need to generate resources. You don't. When you export, you can generate resources then. Now, populate as well. Now, populate's good if you want it to like look kind of more natural, but you don't need it, because I usually find that a world you design yourself can often be better than the one Minecraft designs. That's just my opinion, but if you want to disagree with me, then I won't be horrible to you. I just think that, you know, if you generate your own lake, it'll look nice. I'm going to have a lake, quite a big lake actually. It's going to be lovely. It's going to extend into the caverns, mind, so that might not be great. And we use either water or lava. I wouldn't recommend using lava, personally. And there we go, we have a lake. We can toggle off displaying all of the different ones, like cavern, oh, there, caverns, chasms. If we want to just display one, we can do that, where it'll display where there's frost, or that, where it'll display where there's just pine trees. But, oh, well, I've just dragged that out by mistake. Now, spawn point, very useful. Raised mountain, I'm not too sure about that. It doesn't look great in my opinion. But you can use it if you want. Now, to set your spawn, it's just a left click, and maybe the character should spawn there, in the marshes. And you can go west to see the lakes and things. I'm quite pleased with how this world's turned out. Beaches is great. You can basically, but the thing is, if you actually want beaches, don't use the beach tool. Just use sand, because the beach tool looks horribly, well, glassy, really. And I've been to sand dunes and they're not that glassy. Trees will not generate on glass, don't worry about that. Although, and also it will be bare sand. You could make a desert if you want. I'm just gonna put a little desert here. It's not working for me. Let it pass, really. Doesn't matter. So, we've looked at all of that. Now we're going to look at some of the little tools which can be used to help you. Maximum viewing distance is on far, and you can see how far your player could see. So you can see if your player was standing on these mountains, he might be able to see the shore of the lake if he was on far. Travel time will show you the 5, 10 and 20 minute travel times. And unless you're doing a really big map, probably won't really come into it, because if you look, even if you're in the far corner, it's still within the travel time. You can rotate the map. Want it to rotate it clockwise. There. But we'll put it back. So obviously if you rotated it clockwise, you'd do anti-clockwise to put it back. Add or remove tiles. I like this. Basically what it does is it allows you to add new areas onto the map. So what I was saying before about us having a bit of problems, they would have been removed if we just added more tiles. Now, I think we could probably remove these tiles here. If we click remove tiles, there. So now the south coast's right on the southern edge. So, anyway, after all that, we'll look at the export thing. So export as new Minecraft map. It's also Control E. So general. Top layer minimum depth is like, so the grass, how deep the grass is. The maximum depth is obviously how deep the grass can be. For underground material, I would leave it unchanged, although rock can look quite nice. Bottomless world. Now, these, I wouldn't recommend it. There won't be any bedrock at the bottom. Border's worth doing. It's just nice to have like a little water border around to make it look like it's bigger than it is. Chasms everywhere and chasms everywhere would be probably quite good. Now, I wouldn't have chasms breaking the surface too much, but it can be good. Because if you've ever seen a Minecraft map, you'll know that chasms do occasionally break the surface. Caverns, though, we'll have them breaking the surface, but there won't be too many of them, so it might be a bit difficult. We'll turn the chest of goodies off, and we'll make it a default map. I don't think that matters much, really. For the mode, that's your choice. I would go for this one. I'd quite like to see it in survival. And resources everywhere. I set them quite high usually, so that you can actually find the things. Don't, really, I wouldn't use the other layers, and you can export. It does take quite a while, though. If you look, please wait, exporting world. So, I'm going to end the video here, and, I've been Manhattan from Team Overload It, and I am glad to have been able to present this to you. Good night.